My name's Anthony, and this is my channel. So here's another top level Subaru master technician with his own channel, giving up the industry secrets. And I'm glad to see another guy has come forward on YouTube to give fantastic content. So this guy is, let me just back up.
Fine.
Is
It's
Mr.
totally
Subaru.
normal. To a quart of oil every 1,000 miles, totally acceptable. Your CVT fluid doesn't have to be replaced, ever. I've worked on Subarus for many, many years, and this is absolute BS information. In today's video, we're going to talk about why it is and what you need to...
So here you go. Mr. Subaru says it's normal. It's not. No, Subaru says it's normal. I say it's BS. Correcting bad advice from the manufacturers. So this guy's MrSubaru1387. Go check him out. He just came clean on the industry, just like your boy sitting here behind the camera. I've been saying to you guys for over 8 years. Don't believe the hype. Believe the guys in the trenches like me, the good guys, and the top level YouTubers are all coming out about this. Why? We want to protect you and your investment. Keep going.
Do instead of listening to Subaru's recommendations to save yourself from a costly engine rebuild or replacement and possibly a $7,000 to $8,000 CVT replacement. With that said, let's jump into the video.
So what he's saying is, they even say you don't have to service your CVT fluid, which is a bunch of crap. I'm glad to see that he's come clean.
Now let's start things off with talking about engine oil. Most modern Subarus run or recommend 020 full synthetic engine oil. Now this is great for lessening friction internally in the engine and freeing up as much fuel economy as possible. Subaru switched to this 020 oil about 12 to 15 years ago, about the time the F-Series engine was introduced, and chasing those EPA CAFE standards for maximizing fuel economy. Now, they've done so at the detriment of their engines and their vehicle owners.
Did you hear that, everyone? The detriment of the engines and the vehicle owners by using this oil. And he's going to tell you more about the same things I've been telling you.
Now, before you guys go typing the angry comments down below, all of you that absolutely despise Subaru, let me preface this by saying this is not a Subaru-only issue. This is across the board with every make and model, every manufacturer at this point. Almost everyone has switched to a 020, 016, or 08 engine oil to maximize the optimal amount of MPGs that they can squeeze out of their vehicles. I mean, Toyota has been running 016 for a while. They switched to 020 long before Subaru, and Subaru themselves actually is now chasing down and using 016 and possibly 8 in their 24 and 25 select models. So this problem is only going to get worse from here. Now, the actual issue with the oil consumption comes down to 3 major factors. One is...
Are you ready for this? Listen to what the man says, because I've been saying the same things. It's not just a Subaru thing. It's an industry thing.
Is the lightweight engine oil. 2 is the lower tension rings in the engine, again, to free up any internal friction or lessen it as much as possible, because the less drag, the less friction on the rotating assembly, the better the power transfer is and the better the fuel economy is. The third issue is the fact that the interval for oil changes has been stretched out by most manufacturers. After switching to synthetic oil, they now recommend 6,000 plus mile intervals on oil changes. Now this...
So let me stop the video here and say this. That, in my experience, 6,000, I don't see anyone coming into my shop in the 5,000 to 6,000 range. If it's a sticker written for 5,000 miles, we see them 6, 7, 7,500, 10,000, 12,000. So what he says is that if you tell the customer to come back at 6, they don't come back at 6. So that's why I say 3. If they have an oil consumption problem, I can keep a good eye on it for them and advise them without them having to have an engine issue. But if they keep coming back at 5, 6, 8, 10, it's just destroying the inside of the engine. Good for Mr. Subaru coming clean.
This is great for the manufacturer so they can show a lower cost of ownership with less maintenance, but it's bad for the consumer, as they tend to forget and stretch out those oil change intervals even further, they're more likely to consume oil just due to the larger interval in between oil changes. And the lighter weight oil and lower tension rings makes it possible for more oil to be consumed anyway. I've been working on Subarus for a long time, and I've seen plenty of Subarus with as little as 70,000 miles or less consuming engine oil at a higher rate. Now, Subaru themselves claims now that you can consume up to 1 quart of oil every 1,000 miles, and that is still quote-unquote acceptable. I do not believe that is true.
And it isn't, Mr. Subaru. The whole entire industry came out with a letter to pacify the problem. So you can read that in GM service bulletins, Ford's, all that. It's just written lies spelled out to the customer, say, well, it's normal, Mr. Customer, when it's not.
It has never been true for an engine to consume or burn that large of amount of oil as to be considered normal anytime prior than the last 10 years or so. This is a new shift in the automotive sector. Again, not for Subaru alone, but Toyota, Honda, Nissan, GM, Ford, everybody has gone to this. And
they all went to the lie. The lie is that piece of paper and says, well, this is industry standards now, when it's not. Just like Ford saying, well, your 5.0 engine should rattle and sound like a sewing machine, when it's not.
Accepting more and more oil consumption to show higher MPGs and to show a lower cost of ownership for their vehicle. It's all part of their plans. So now to touch base and draw similarities between last week's video talking about oil leak issues in Subarus and what we're talking about today, because it's all interconnected at the end of the day. Now, a lot of people were crap talking Subaru in the comments on the last video about the oil leaks, but it's not a Subaru only issue.
Nope.
It's literally every brand and manufacturer at this point. They all glue their engines together with RTV silicone, not just Subaru. So again, guys, when I make these videos, I'm not taking shots at Subarus. I'm just trying to inform you of potential issues. Not saying that every Subaru has these issues, but it's a potential just to make you more informed as a consumer and an automobile owner. Now, where this ties together is with these stretched out oil change intervals. We're already going past where we should be, but now we are putting in the mind of the consumer to put it on the back burner. They kind of stretch out and forget about the oil change because the intervals are getting...
You know when they forget, when they don't forget about it? When you tell them they need a new engine because it's consuming too much oil, or the timing chain's stretched to death, or rods hanging out the side of it. I would rather say, Mr. Mechanic, when should I come in for my oil changes? You want the best advice? Come in every 3,000 miles, no later than 5. And I can almost assure you that you're not going to have engine problems. How about that? Right? Pretty simple. Come and see me a little bit more often, and we can avoid you putting a $10,000 or a $20,000 engine.
Longer. And as they get longer, they forget about it, and they go past those intervals. Now, as they're going and stretching out further and further between oil changes, there is more susceptibility for sludge buildup inside the engine, for this engine oil to start sludging up timing chain components and sludging up.
Hold on, let me just give you guys an FYI. Your engine should not be sludging up. FYI, your engine should not be sludging up carbon buildup and sticking rings. It all comes from fuel dilution and overextended oil changes and improper maintenance.
The rotating assembly, anything that is lubricated by the oil. Also, most of these vehicles now have a gas direct injection system, and that makes it more susceptible for...
This is when I talk about dirty engines. A dirty engine needs sooner maintenance. GDI.
Gasoline to get into the oil and cause oil dilution. Now, we know that gasoline is a solvent, and the longer you go between these oil changes, the more and more gasoline can potentially get into the oil and dilute that oil and ruin its lubricity that's already pretty low, as it is a lower weight oil. So that can lead to these engine failures, that can lead to premature wear inside of your engine, and it also makes the engine oil...
Hold on, so let's back up the Chevy tech that messaged me and said every 020 engine that he tore down in his shop could not be saved. They were in for warranty engine repairs, and he was the rebuilder. He could not save those engines that ran on 020. Why? Because it's so thin, and then it has oil consumption, and it's wearing out the entire engine the whole time at the cost of gas mileage and saying, well, this car doesn't require maintenance, Mr. Customer. You just drive it until it blows up. Then he said that his 1030 and up engines were all able to be rebuilt. So how about that? This is a Chevy tech saying that he was the engine builder in the Chevy service department.
More acidic. That is a solvent. That gasoline getting into that oil makes the oil acidic, and it makes it a solvent, or the gasoline is a solvent. And what does a solvent do?
It's breaking down the oil in the engine, and it's eating away at the gaskets and materials.
It can break down and eat through that RTV silicone. These elongated intervals of oil changes are bad in many, many ways. Not just for your engine, not just for consuming of the oil, not just worried about lubricity in the engine, but also can help to cause these oil leaks in not just Subarus, but all engines that have any kind of parts stuck together or sealed with RTV silicone, because gasoline is a solvent, and it will go to work on eating at and destroying the ability for that RTV silicone to seal. So all of this is all connected in the end. Now, all of this has a snowball effect on top of it. As we talked about the oil leaking past the rings and the potential for sludge buildup as we stretch out these intervals, we also...
And what are we trying to do with the advice that we're giving to YouTube and the world? We're trying to give you the best advice and our experiences and practices to avoid all of this. And what are we saying? Stop listening to everybody. Stop listening to your friends. Stop listening to the dealership. Stop listening to the manufacturers. And listen to guys like Mr. Subaru and myself.
So worried about sludge building up on those oil control rings. Now, the oil control ring is down below the compression rings and helps prevent that oil from getting past the rings and into the combustion chamber and burning. It's supposed to scrape that oil back down the cylinder walls when the piston comes down and keep it from getting in there. But as sludge builds up on those piston rings and on the ring lands...
So let me play this again.
Oil control rings. Now, the oil control ring is down below...
Here, let me show you guys. So down here, right? This is where the oil's coming out, and then this ring here wipes it back and down. What happens is these rings get stuck and they don't move, or they get stuck in, and then the oil is just, as the engine's pumping up and down, it's putting oil up into the combustion chamber. Now what you're having with oil that's diluted with fuel, right? And just hear me out. When the oil is heavily fuel diluted and it's passing the oil control rings into the combustion chamber, and the combustion chamber fires that oil with gasoline in it, it runs a trail down. So what it's doing is constantly cooking down into the piston ring area. So oil control, compression ring, and then oil wipe ring. So when that oil dilution, that fuel dilution in the oil is so bad, right? So with clean oil, it's not so bad. And then as you start to drive it, it's getting diluted. It's getting up into the combustion chamber, and then it's burning and going out the tailpipe and through the catalytic converter, which is not good, and then through the oxygen sensors. Then all that blow-by vapor that's contaminated is flowing through the rest of the engine, causing bigger problems. So as the oil comes up here and mixes in the combustion chamber with air and fuel, it's also mixing with fuel dilution from the crankcase, and then boom, you have a bigger problem. It shouldn't be burning oil in the combustion chamber like a two-stroke. And it's all because of this is what you're trying to avoid, is these deposits and sticky, gooey stuff with overextended oil changes, low-tier fuels, and lack of maintenance with overextended oil changes. So there you have it. That's the biggest problem right there, is what the overextended oil changes is doing to the inside of the engine.
Load the compression rings and help...
So let's fast forward.
It was consuming about a quart every 5,000 miles. Now, I switched from zero...
Oh, so he's talking... Let me just back it up.
This oil vapor down into the catalytic converter. You start to contaminate oxygen sensors. It causes a whole host of issues. Everything is interconnected, and one problem can snowball into many. Now, as I have learned in the past, a lot of these issues can be resolved by going to a heavier weight oil.
Oh, boy. Who said that? This guy right here, me. This guy right behind the camera. Up your oil weight. Now, here's the biggest problem. If you have a major issue with your engine burning oil, just going up in the oil is not the fix. Just so everyone knows that. It is a help, but it is not a fix completely. But listen to Mr. Subaru. Respect this guy.
You don't have to go really crazy with it. My 2013 Crosstrek was running 0-20 when I got it. It was consuming about a quart every 5,000 miles.
Shame on you for going 5,000 miles, Mr. Subaru, on 020.
Now, I switched from 0-20 to 530 Subaru synthetic oil made
Yay!
by which is the OEM for Subaru branded engine oil. I did not have any more oil consumption issues. Now, yes, I did lose some fuel economy. I did lose some MPGs. I tracked all of this manually and calculated it manually. I was averaging about 29 MPGs on 0-20.
That's miles per gallon, if anyone wants to know.
And I averaged about 27 on 530. So I lost 2 MPGs.
Big deal.
Tank's about 14 gallons. So 28 gallons per tank I lost, or essentially a little over a gallon of gas lost per tank. Now, to lessen oil consumption issues, to lessen potential damage to the catalytic converter, and to lessen all these other potential issues, I'll gladly take the trade-off of losing the efficient...
What have I been saying? There's really no loss to upping your oil weight and viscosity in your engine to prevent all the internal engine issues. This guy's not stupid. He's been around a long time. He knows his stuff. Just like the guy behind the camera. So, if you guys want to see the rest of this video, go to MrSubaru1387. Like, share, and subscribe his content. Like, share, and subscribe mine. This is your boy signing off. For watching. It's good to see another top-level YouTuber coming clean.